This provision was unknown to me when I voted for the bill.
I thought these MAGA Republicans had finally learned that when they show their faces to their constituents and try to justify them falling in line with Trump, it generally doesn't go well. But it seems like one of these MAGA Republicans, Mike Flood, didn't quite get the memo.
Hey pal, you just blowing from stupid town?
And the answer that Mike gave here, or really the excuse that he gave as to why he voted for Trump's big beautiful bill, just sent this entire room into an outrage. I mean, it's a ridiculous answer. I'll play you guys the whole clip and then we'll talk about the context for why they're so upset. If you guys enjoy this kind of coverage, make sure to join Really American by subscribing and leaving a blue heart so we know that you're here.
I share your concern for our national debt, but the ends do not justify the means. Can you please tell us why you voted to approve a budget bill that includes Section 70302, which effectively prohibits federal courts from enforcing contempt orders? Please let me ask my question. I only got 30 seconds. Which would then allow current and future administrations to ignore those contempt orders by removing the enforcement capabilities.
I do not agree with that section that was added to that bill. I will tell you this. I believe in the rule of law. I've taken an oath as an attorney. I've taken an oath as a state senator. I've taken an oath as a member of Congress. And I support our court system, and I do believe that the federal district courts, when issuing an injunction, should have legal effect. In fact, I relied upon that when the Biden administration was in place. The federal courts did a tremendous amount of good work. This provision was unknown to me when I voted for the bill.
Okay, next question. Next question.
I am not going to hide the truth. This provision was unknown to me when I voted for that bill. And when I found out that provision was in the bill, I immediately reached out to my Senate counterparts and told them of my concern. And when I return to Washington, I am going to very clearly tell the people in my conference that we cannot support undermining our court system, and we must allow our federal courts to operate and issue injunctions.
Okay, next question.
Wait, before she goes on, I think this is a theme that I want to talk about because it's very important to me as somebody who grew up in a state where I went to Boy Scouts. I went to American Legion Boys State. I learned in history about the Constitution. I studied it in law school. I believe in it. I do not believe the executive branch can suspend habeas corpus. That is not permissible under Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution. And I believe that it's my job, when I get the opportunity and I'm armed with the best information, to be very clear to you and to do my job in Washington on these issues. I am going to do the very best job I can on your behalf, but let me tell you, when it comes to issues on the rule of law, thank you for asking that question. I want to be on the record about it. I want to be very clear about it. And when these issues present themselves, now please know that every time someone in the administration comes up with an idea, I can't pull the fire alarm every day. But if I see a writ of habeas corpus, quote unquote, suspended, that is not right. It can only be done by the Congress in terms of an invasion, and that is not the situation we have. I am here on the record with the people that elect me, and I want to be very clear about that.
Oh, he didn't read it. Really? That's his excuse? Maybe because the thing was 1,000 pages long. You know, the thing that they've continuously whined about for the last 20 years, passing these mega omnibus bills. They moan and whine when the Democrats are in office about these massive bills that are passed in the middle of the night that no one has the chance to read. But then when they're in office, they do the exact same thing and sneak in little provisions that undermine our constitutional republic. And they know that this provision is undefendable. Look at the shoddy answer that the House's resident man in the closet, Mike Johnson, gave.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about another provision that was tucked into this bill. Democrats say it is weakening separation of powers and punishing the courts. It's a specific provision that would restrict a federal court's power to enforce injunctions with contempt unless there is a bond attached to it. Sounds really weedy, but it's causing a lot of outcry. If this might get stripped out in the Senate anyway, why did you bother to stick it in?
We bothered to stick it in because that's our responsibility in Congress. It is about separation of powers, and right now you have activist judges, a handful of them around the country, who are abusing that power. They're issuing these nationwide injunctions. They're engaging in political acts from the bench, and that is not what our system is intended for. And people have lost their faith in our system of justice. We have to restore it, and bringing about a simple reform like that is something that I think everybody should applaud.
Well, they're not applauding, Mike. They're screaming, they're yelling, they're telling you to stop it, because what you're doing is actually putting all of us in danger. And it's hard to tell if Mike Flood is brave or just stupid for doing another town hall after his first one didn't go so well, and none of his co-workers are having good ones either. I mean, Democratic Representative Mark Pocan did do a call out of these folks and challenged them to do town halls. I just didn't think these guys would actually be stupid enough to go through with it.
You're going to town halls in other districts. What is it like?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, should be the Democratic strategy, right? We should, on a regular basis, go into every Republican district. To me, the smell test is if you have something so good like they claim they have, you should want to get on the rooftop and scream about it. And instead, they're hiding in their fucking basements. And that tells you everything you need to know, right? They're selling you a piece of shit right now and telling you that it's a ham sandwich. And so what we've got to do is just take them on directly. So I've 4 times gone into one Republican district next to me, Derek Van Orden's. This guy's a guy who was an insurrectionist outside the Capitol on January 6th, and now he's a member of Congress, go figure. And, people want to be heard, and they're told, Republican members told by leadership not to have town halls because they know they have a bad message right now. So we need to go there, let people be heard, and to highlight just how bad this is. They want to take $5.5 trillion from the middle class and those aspiring to be in the middle class and transfer it to the wealthy in a tax break. So Elon Musk and Donald Trump are going to get a whole lot more money to vacation in the Bimini Islands, and we're going to get screwed over one more time. So I think doing those town halls is a really great way of showing how unauthentic they are about their message and their values, and we need to do a lot more of it.
They're inauthentic in their messaging, and they also don't even know what they're passing, apparently. Mike Flood should be dragged over the coals for this answer, and I think he is going to be next election.
What in the world is the purpose of renaming the Gulf?
A majority of Americans voted to elect Donald Trump president of the United States. Not everybody voted to elect Donald Trump, but a majority of Americans voted to elect Donald Trump. When that bill was presented to the House, I voted for it in sync with almost the entire Republican conference, because at the end of the day, I have to focus on the things that matter, and it celebrates the country that we love and the continent that we love.